All right, guys, welcome back. Um, this week was SharePoint week. Hope you guys had the opportunity to take a look at those videos, um, and you learned a little bit of something. You had anything, you, you created those on your own environment. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to message me on my WhatsApp channel um, with a picture and some snapshots. That way, we know that you did it. Um, I really do appreciate people who go above and beyond, especially in this business. Similar to work, right? You want to be you don't want to overachieve, but you also want to be able to. I know it's not something that, people think like, hey, I'm not getting paid for this. But you need to sacrifice a little bit to get a little bit, right? It'll come back to you. Just remember that, right? Uh, so if I do ask for a snapshot, please feel free. Please just create a snapshots, couple snapshots, create a portfolio. Use note OneNote. Create your portfolio for each um, you know thing, and you can share those and or just put them on a WhatsApp. A Word document, and create your snapshots there, right? That way you have recollection, like, hey, I did this, and you can go back to those when you need to, right? So, um, you know, it's it's important that you learn how to kind of do that on your own and share your achievements, right? Just like when you go to the Microsoft.learn.com portal and you're training, and you get an achievement award, right? So, let me know. I might be able to send you guys I do send out achievement awards. So just let me know what you've taken, and I might be able to create some achievement awards for that too. So, we can use that to um, highlight in your LinkedIn profiles, your Instagram profiles, your Facebook profiles, your X profiles, your whatever profiles you want to use, or even on your resume too, right? So, um, I am a company. I'm an academy. I'm going to be a future MCT trainer. I'm already a systems architect. Um, you know, I'm an IT professional. I own my own company. I've trained a lot of companies. I trained a lot of people within those companies. I've worked with a lot of people within those companies. I've done a lot of project with people. I've worked for, like I said, you know, I'm not just a trainer. I'm also um, a someone who's willing to work with you guys to kind of, get to where you're going, right? Um, I want you to get there too, just like I did. Right? It takes time. It didn't take me one day to get there, right? It took me a lot of time. It's still taking me time. You guys are looking for that work. You guys are going out there to grow your portfolios, right? So continue to look for those jobs in the job markets, as that might help us learn and grow to where we want to go. So, like I said, it takes time. Don't expect it to come right away and sit on your lap. So I'm sharing a video so I can share different videos of you guys of this stuff to you guys, out of the goodness of my heart, right? So share your insights with me. I'm doing this for you guys so that you guys get a better handle of it, and you guys enjoy the hands-on labs and not just those lectures out there that kind of get boring and stuff, and they don't give you the full experience of it, right? I'm here to give you the full experience. you know I won't give you the 100%, but I'll give you the full experience, especially when you're going ahead and getting you started towards, you know, creating these jobs and going out there in the job field and taking these exams, right? So I've been respected and experienced in the IT field, guys, with over 19 years of experience. In the IT across education, I've worked with education, I've worked in insurance, I've worked in government, I've worked in financial, I've worked in travel, I've worked in retail, I've worked in manufacturing, I've worked with a lot of companies, like thousands of companies. Uh, you know, and I've also had some full-time work in the side too, right? So I've designed and implemented, I've planned, I've instructed, I've architected systems, guys, I've and servers and applications in a hybrid environment. with many different businesses and startup companies. Okay. So I'm here to give you guys what I know, to share my insights, to make you feel like you're confident enough to actually go out there and do it yourself and not just pretend like you did. Watch me and say, hey, I just did it. You know, oh, I know that. Oh, I hear that a lot. Or it's not about that. Like, good for you, man. You know how to read. Good for you. You know how to Google, which is another thing that I appreciate. Googling. Don't be scared of that. Do you know how to Google? These are things that you can actually, you know, say if you don't know anything. Do you know how to use Chat GPT? Right? Do you know how to watch a video, live video? Because these won't really show you how to do it. They'll just explain it from what other people think they know, how they do it, and their expectations of it. It may be different, right? So there's a lot of people globally in this world that train and have a different way of training. I've been doing this for a long time. I am currently an academic trainer, as you guys can see. I also train on YouTube, part time. Do a lot of academic training on the side too. Teach classes. I offer courses for you guys. Um, you know, I am that you know academic trainer. I own my own company, so I'm able to do these type of things, right? And show you guys what I'm able to do. You know, you know, I still expect you guys to have your degrees. I still expect you guys to go out there and get your certifications, right? Your vendor certifications. But also know how I'm also here to help you guys towards that. I've talked to thousands of people, and thousands of people have told me, they've gone through their scenarios of how it went and how it didn't go. I teach Microsoft, I teach VMware, I teach Google, I teach other cloud courses like Oracle and Google platform, like I mentioned too, Omnisa, um, Jeff. These are big companies that you know I've actually gone out there and taught. Antivirus programs, endpoint security programs. IAM programs. You know, third party program vendors that have these specific applications, right? And I don't just go out there and sell them. I go out there and you know make you understand what it's like on the other side, right? So if you're going into a company's already established or just starting up, for example, they need to know how it works, right? So in this session, we want to work hard. I want you to learn more. I want you to do lots of hands-on labs. Okay. Um, so I'm not going to go through all this stuff. I just, you do need the hardware requirements. I didn't. I want you guys to understand, like, hey, it's okay if you don't have it. IT is your field, then you need to have good hardware. Okay. Invest in whatever you need, right? So minimum requirements are the i7 quad core processors. Again, just make sure it's compatible with Windows 11. Okay, we're in the Windows 11 and era. So if you are going to get a processor or a CPU that's minimum of i7 core, right, and compatible for Windows 11. Okay, I stress that out. Even your servers, they need to be compatible with that. They also need to be compatible, if you do get a server, compatible with the ESXi I 6.5 or greater, right? Up to 8. So let's say 8, right? So it needs to be compatible with our latest version 8. Sorry, guys. Okay. A minimum of 32 to 64 GB RAM. I understand there are a lot of people that still have 8 GB or 16 GB. That's fine. Um, you know, just make sure you have space. Okay. My recommendation is to have that space, right? Like we're looking at, You can even have more. I'm saying up to 128 is good for this, especially in these specific environments where I'm teaching you guys how to use two servers, but it's also good to have that third server for failover, for high availability, right? So, having those requirements and will help you um, succeed in my other courses. A minimum of 500 GB SSD drive. Um, if it's not an SSD, it's okay, but those are the requirements for what I want. This for you guys to have it. Even if you get a used laptop, that's fine. We can make it work. Okay, I'll make it work. I've done this for a long time, so I know what it's like. You can have a desktop computer or laptop or a server. Okay, so laptop or a server. So anything that you have in your environment at home. And again, search for used ones on Kijiji, guys, or face or marketplaces or different marketplaces or any any used computer suppliers. Um, Amazon, right? Like you can use Amazon. One's on Amazon. See, because we're talking global here. Amazon, right? Kijiji. Uh, you can go on Dell's website, right? You can go on HP's website, or you can go on Lenovo, Lenovo's website, right? Um, again, they also have different marketplaces, or right? You can try, or just any use. You can try or any used computer supply, right? So it's pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward. Just make sure you have the hardware requirements. All these videos are recorded for you guys, so you can repeat them. I prefer like my students to come to follow along. Um, for these I do upload these to a private channel. For my students who are on premises with me, um, and just need your Gmail for that. But that's okay. That's a different story. So we're here to talk about the group naming policies, guys. And again, um, I'm going to introduce myself again. As always, I'm your systems architect, IT professional, and global trainer, and future MCT, guys. I'm actually in the still waiting for it, but I'm in the middle of completing my courses for this and getting ready for that. There's no actual real studying, but I'm just taking my sweet time. I don't know what I'm waiting for, but I am gonna actually go for that coming up in the next month. So follow along with me and my journey into that, and you know, let's get this done together, right? So understand, when we talk about group naming policies, we talk about not just how we name the policies, but you know, um, like and what are those policies and how we name it. But what is a group, right? Or groups, right? So this is a question that I get a lot, and I think you guys as people should answer too, right? So, um, what is a group? Um, Again, when we look at the specific types of groups, right? We look at, we look at different comparisons, in terms of how we create it. So with people who do have experience, should automatically know, like, hey, okay, I got my DC here. Oh, this is a group, right? So this is how we create our groups. So how do we create our groups, right? So we would create our groups as this, right? So we go to new, and then we would create our groups. So in our groups, we would create objects for these groups, and we had our group scopes and our group types. So we had our domain local, we had our group scope global, and our group scope um, universal. So One second. All right. So when we talk about what each group has as a scope, right? Groups, we talk about each group that has a scope that identifies um, to extend to which group is applied in the domain Forester tree. We can define groups where in the network we can grant groups these permissions, right? So within these three groups, right? These are the three groups that where Active Directory defines it, right? So what are these, right? And again, when we look at this, guys, give me 1 second. Right? We look at um, the scope, right? And we look at the type, we look at the possible members, we look at the conversions, we look at things like, hey, can we grant permission? And what other possible members, what are the things they can possibly do, right? So in a universal group scope, right? So if we add the universal group scope, actually, let's start with the domain group scope. So I want to make sure that you guys are understanding what domain local means and what global means and what universal means, right? So when we look at a domain local group scope, we look at the accounts from any domain or any trusted domain, right? Those are global groups. Those are global groups from any domain in the same forest, right? There are other universal groups from the domain in the same forest. So we can also convert to domain local scopes where the group isn't a member of any. Oh, sorry about that, guys. So a domain local is an account from any domain or trusted domain group. Um, Accounts, global groups, and universal groups and other forests are and from external domains. So these are the possible members that we can actually add to this global group. So any account that's from a domain or a trusted domain, a global group from any domain or trusted domain, a universal group, right? So it has to be anything that we can add within this object, right? So, or other domain local groups from this same domain or accounts, global groups, and universal groups from other force and external domains. Can These domain local groups can also be converted to universal scopes if the group doesn't contain any other domain local group. Okay, so that's very important. We can grant permission within the same domain within our domain local group. So if we were to create this domain local group, right, and this is a security group, obviously, right, we'll call that. And again, we'll just create that just to kind of show you what they are. We'll create all three of them for you. So we have our domain local group, right? And then we'll hit OK, right? So within my data center, I've created my domain local group, right? So if I open up the domain local group, right, I can now, you know, add members, right? Accounts from any domain, right? Can be added to this group. So any domain could be Atari Computers 3 dot local, or any global groups that I created that are global, right? From any domain or any trusted domain. So any domain that's within our our environment, right? So if we're doing a search, right, and we're looking within our entire directory and not just our main directory here, so within our entire directory. So that's what that means. And again, we can grant permissions to this group, to this domain level group, right, within the same domain. So I can grant it within this domain. So in my Canadian Data Center OU, right? So that's my OU. Sorry, guys. Oops. my OU, right? I'm able to grant permissions, right, to this group, right? So I can grant permissions if I want to, right? I can go to security here, right? I can grant, but has to be within the same domain, right? So I can add and grant permissions within my domain. So if I'm going to the advanced tab, right, it has to be within my domain, right? My on-premises domain. It can't be anywhere else. So I can't change um, the location within where I'm going, right? So I can't change my location. So even if I try to change my location, it has to be within this specific domain that I'm in. So that's what that means, right? Other domain local groups. So even if there were other domain local groups, from the same domain local groups on computers in the same domain, excluding built-in groups that have well-known security, we can also add those too, right? So even if I wanted to add, for example, I wanted to create this first domain local group, and then I also want to create another domain local group. That makes sense, right? And we're going to create a group, and we're going to create a domain local group, and we're going to call this domain local group 2, right? Right, and we'll call this, I don't know, we'll call this, and again, I want to stick to the nomenclature, right? Especially when we're living in a data center, we can start within our Canadian data center too, right? We can kind of rename those groups because it is domain local to that. So this domain local is, again, we could start talking about root domains and child domains in another class, but you guys will kind of get the gist of how I want this done. So usually we can put our department name, we can put our location here, right? Which is kind of cool, right? Um, and you guys will see this in our naming convention as well too, because I'll start using that as well when we talk about our policies. Okay, so here's our and again, I like to keep this together so that there's no just because um, you know this is all there. So this is going to be group 2, right? And again, this could be for Toronto, or this could be for Toronto, right? We can put a dash, put this Toronto, right? Right. So this will be in Toronto or Montreal, right? Because we created our first one in Toronto, Montreal, right? So this is our domain local group in Montreal, within our Canadian data center, right? So again, domain local, right? And then we also have our, let me rename this. Let me copy this here because I want to keep it consistent. I want you guys to learn how to keep things consistent because within your companies, it should be renamed consistent and it should be consistent at all times, right? Especially when you're designing your infrastructure, you're building, you're architecting your own environments, right? It makes sense. Using codes also as well too, so we can actually. I also like to, you know, shorten this domain local group and we'll call it DLG, just so that I know what it is, right? So we can also do this as well too. We can call this CND, right? Right? We could call it DLG. DLG, we know that stands for domain local group, right? And then we could call it Montreal, right? So Montreal. MTL, right? So there you go. So making it consistent, making it easy. That way we know what each group is and what they do and what it's not for, right? So if we were to design this again, we know our DLGs are in our Canadian country with on our data center and our data. This is actually a domain local group within Montreal, right? So in our region, right? So we would name that, or in within Quebec, sorry. So this would be within Quebec. Q, right? There you go. I'm gonna say that. And then this is gonna be I'll rename it just because I want you guys to learn this as well too. We know this already as a domain local group. And again, we know this already, so we'll just call it a DLG and we'll call this Ontario. Okay. So we know this is Ontario, right? And this is everybody in Ontario. So this is sort of like our domain local within the Canadian Data Center in our Ontario um, organizational unit, right? So we build these two designs, and then also same thing here. We're going to go into our US data center. We're going to right click. We're going to click new. We're going to click our group, right? And we're going to call this CUSD, DLG, and then this one's going to be called, let's say Boston, right? Boston, right? Because we know that's in Boston, right? Or we could call this New York, and then whatever's within New York. If that's how it is, then this is going to be a local domain. So as you can see, these security groups are created. So if we go back, we know that these are domain local security groups, right? And we can state what this is. This is a domain local group for um, oops, domain. This is a domain local security group that was created for testing purposes, right? So we know this. And then we're gonna hit OK. And again, there are no members. We can eventually add members. We can go within and protect this object from automatic deletion, and we can click apply, and we'll do the same thing for the other ones in Canada. So we'll go ahead and go to our Canadian data center, and we will go to our province here in our provincial, and see, you'll notice too that our pre-named book, we can actually change that. We can actually call this CND DLG, right? And then we can call this font, right? So that's our group name, right? So if we go back here, we go to properties, right? We have our group name here. We have our members that we're not going to add yet. We have our memberships, right? So this will display only groups from local domains, right? So even if we want to add somebody, right? So it'll show us our local domain only, right? And it'll show us the users, right, that we're looking for, and then we'll see what kind of users are there. We'll check name by first letter, or sorry, we'll check by domain, full domain, right? And we'll look for check name. And then let's see what other objects. So right now we're looking for groups only that are within that group. So there physically there are no groups. So we'll see if I can create one with a user in it. Did I create one already? Okay. Let me put a user within this one. So I'll put myself here in this domain local group. See, check name, right? So I can add my user here. So in this case, I'm going to add um, my admin user. I'm going to hit OK, right? And then he's going to be managed by our check name user here, and then hit OK, right? So now we know if we go back here, once we go back here, sorry, when we go to the memberships, he should now be able to be part of that security group. So we'll take a look at that and see how that works. Again, the object properties are managed by the attributes, right? So changes have been, so what I'm going to do is apply the changes first that I've made, and then we can go in and change our basic um, attributes here if we want to, based on what we talked about. So if we take a look at some of them, we can take a look at, you know, let's see what we can do here. Object class, fine. Next. Members, fine. Mails, fine. If there was a mail, we can add the mailbox here. Um, like for example, that would need a mail email. We're going to create one for that. It would also give it a display name. What the display name is not set. So if the display name should be our CND DLG aunt, right? So this is our Ontario, and we'll hit OK, and then we'll apply. Our conical name is already our conical name. Um, right, and then we can add different users in here too as well. We can add members. And again, within our hierarchy, we can add our Ontario group to be here. So we can add our CMD and look for that. And then we can make sure that our Ontario group is always a part of that and always has access to that group, right? So our administrators are always having access to that group. So we want to make sure that he is who we say he is, right? They're always in charge of the hierarchy. So our main goal is to kind of work um, underneath that hierarchy, right? So we're in charge of that hierarchy in case we need information for that. So remember, protect your objects from accidental, which is what I'm going to do. Well, this takes a little bit of time, a couple, refresh it about 3 or 4 times. Right? Right, so if we go back to our Canadian data center, or even if we do a search for it, we do a search for our whole entire direct, or so our local directory, right? And we're looking for CMD, you know, we'll look at our, or even if we look at our SC admin, right? So if we look at our SC admin, he should now have access to that membership group, right? So you'll notice that he'll have access to that domain legal group, right? So it's good to know what those things are instead of having to, even if I have to add it, he's already added. I just need to add that group, right? And search for that group. And then I can add the Quebec users in there as well too, and make sure that I have availability on that, right? So nesting nesting these specific groups within these groups, and this is what groups are, right? So you're creating these domain local groups first, and then you're nesting them within in your environments, right? Um, so yeah, so he'll be in charge of that because he's appointed to the Ontario and Quebec side, so he'll be in charge of that. We know that our Ontario side is our main, right? So he'll be the one that um, will be in charge of that as well too. So so what I'll do is I'll create another user here too. We'll create a couple of users as well, just so that we have it, or we can go into our Canadian data center. I think we already have some users. So if we go to intent there, so what I'll do is I'll open up the users 1 and 7 for now. So if I go to enable account, should be able to enable his account. Now also enable 7, so we know that they're both enabled, right? Um, okay. And what was the answer then? Enable. So can I enable because unable to update the password. The value provided for the new password does not mean. Okay, so what we'll do is because I've already set this requirement, what we'll do is we'll reset his password, right? And you know, we know what the password is, but we should reset the password and have the user change on next login. Uh, so I'm going to put a password in for him. Right? We give them a default password that we know we can use, right? And then we'll, um, have them change that at first login, right? So I don't need that right now, but this is what you would want to do. You'd want to have them change that in terms of getting that. So I've now changed the password for user 7, and I should be able to do, 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 sign out. And he won't be able to sign in because he's not an administrator. So we should have made him an administrator. So that might be an issue. So I'm going to user 7, right? We said, he's part of that domain local. Um, and we are going to give it a password. And account was disabled. Why was it? Okay, so it was disabled, right? So um, we would have to do this. I'll tell you this right now. So this would have to be at Italia computers inc 2 dot local, and then put the password in. So it's been disabled. Okay, fine, fair enough. And we will do S. Man, let's go back and try to figure this out together. Oh, let's take this out. Okay. All right. All right. So much going on over here. Okay, so let's try to figure that issue out that we had, and we'll know why that we're not able to connect to that specific instance. So let's go back to our users account here, and let's test that out. Level one stuff. Let's test this out together, and then we'll move on to our next group scope. Um, so he's disabled. Okay, so now that we reset his password, we should be able to enable that password. And as you can see, it's good to learn these mistakes, right? So even though we were able to change his password, but we're also able to, and we're not using this guy, so I will disable his account for now, just to keep it secure. So right now I'm using these two accounts, and these are the only two accounts that I want to use, right? So I'll be using SC admin and SC user 7. So these are my two um, accounts that I want to use for Ontario. Um, so yeah, that's that. I've created these two groups for you guys, right? And again, I think I'm going to um, I want to clean this up a little bit. So I'm going to add a OU, right? And I'm going to call this um, I'm going to call this CND um, CND accounts, right? So these are some CND, right? So these are going to be, um, right? See the domain accounts for Ontario, for Canada. So this is, right? So I'm going to call this a Canadian accounts, right? So these are all the Canadian accounts, right? So within our Canadian accounts, I'm going to move these two users here, and I'm going to move. Right? I can use the move or drag and drop. It's totally up to you, but I'll have to kind of look for that, and I'll move them in within my Canadian accounts. The reason why I cannot move it is because of the accidental deletion. So I'll go ahead and go back to the object or security of it and unmove that for now and put that back in. Hit OK. I should be able to drag and drop. Right, I am still the admin, right? So I also want to delegate control. I need full control of this delegation. So I'm going to have to add my delegation control. So I'm going to add myself and not the users. Hit OK, add, right? And I'm going to click next. And I'm going to give them a custom delegation to ask. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to create, this is for create and delete objects. Oh, there we go. So this is just to create objects and delete objects within here. That's all I want them to do. I don't want to do anything else here. I don't want to make it too difficult, right? I'm going to do that. We'll just say this folder, existing objects and creation. Okay, so this is fine too. This is okay. So I'm going to go full control. right? And I have my full control. And I'm gonna click next, next, and finish. So I should be able now to move out, right? I hit OK. I should now be able to move out. So let me see if I can put the back here, hit apply, hit OK. Let me refresh it. Takes a couple seconds to refresh, just a few thousand times. Go back to our Canadian data center, our Canadian accounts, and let's see if we can move them out of that and see what happens. Yeah, so that's good. It's good to know. Okay, so let's put that back. I will still have the delegation of moving, so let's see if we can delegate move. Accidental deletion. Let's put that back. Object. Okay. And security. Okay. And I should be able to have delete all child controls. So that right there, I would have to allow that and then hit OK. Actually, no, yeah, allow that. No, no, leave that alone. Create. Um, okay. And just make sure it's on the domain level admin, right? Again, we can change that, but I'm not going to. Well, this is for me myself to log in, right? And not just the so it would have to be an object that I would have to add here. I'm not going to do that right now, but you guys kind of get the gist of things. I can change that person and you know, but I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. Um, I can disable inheritance. Uh, can disable inheritance. So if I'm blocking inheritance, which means that the permissions inherited from the parent object will no longer be applied to this object, right? So converting inherited into explicit permissions on this object, or I can remove all the inherited permissions, right? So whatever is inherited to this object, then that's what I'm going to do. And again, I can disable those and I can enable those again and add whatever I want here. These are already parent objects, right? And I can, inherit those objects or whatever special permissions that are applied to these objects, right? That are part of these specific principal users, right? So as you can see, I have full control, right? With no inheritance and this object and all its descendant objects. So I should be able to do a lot of, make a lot of changes here, add, remove, and delete. Even if I want to add, again, I can deny specific things for myself, right? And I can apply these specific things to whatever I want. So I can also cancel, right? So that's how I do that. I typically wouldn't, you would have a group already with people within this that are able to do that, right? And you can do it like that. So protect object from automatic deletion. That's okay. So that's what I want. I don't want people deleting or moving. That's an actual added feature that users are not able to touch, which shouldn't be touching unless you are delegated access, right? You have that delegated control. So you can also create that stuff there. I'm not going to create it for you. But this is just a basic move and add. So if I want to move back to um, from our Canadian data center, I want to move Quebec. And hopefully, I can't remember if I put it in, but if I put it into the Canadian accounts, and just say yes, I should be able to do it. So now let's go back to our Quebec and let's go back to our protect object from automatic deletion or moving, which is good, and then hit OK. And we'll go back to our Ontario accounts. We don't want people to touch it except for myself and members within this group, right? So let's add our next user too. Actually, let's not add it. We'll add him after to see if we can um, you know, test what we're testing here and troubleshoot what we need. So go back to object that's protected. I just want to double check that's protected again. If I go back to object, that's also protected. Our accounts, our OU should also be protected. So if we go to object, that should also be protected, right? So even if we try to delete it, right, it won't delete it. So that's good. You can also place again delegation control, right? So it'll help you delegate um, these AD objects. So I can grant user permissions to manage these groups, OUs, and other objects that are stored in this ADDS, right? So I showed you guys already. You just need to add this selected user or group, right? So usually we would add groups, right? Unless it's just specific to something, um, you would do that, right? So this is, let's say, the entire directory, right? I can, you know, look at the entire directory and I can add, let's see, user. Let's see if I can check name that and add that specific user, myself, sorry, obviously, or let's say the director of HR, for example, right? So the director of HR will be part of that and we'll hit OK, right? So we're about to add a disabled, that's fine. If you want to add an enabled object, you can try to select the object from another location. Again, it's just for troubleshooting. We didn't enable him. He's not an active user or offboarding or disabled, right? And then hit OK, right? We're going to select that. We're going to hit next, right? We can delegate common tasks like creating, deleting, and managing user accounts. We can read all the user information. We can create, delete, and manage groups. We can modify the memberships, right? So we can just say, I just want to modify the membership of the group. We can manage group policy links. We can generate results, right? Set of policies. We can create INET org personal accounts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So, or we can just create a custom task. So usually a lot of the times you'll see a lot of people, um, you know, create a custom task to delegate. So we'll click next. And again, this will be for this folder, for the existing objects in this folder, for example, right? But we have to delegate, right? So we're delegating the Canadian accounts for existing objects in the and the creation of new objects in this folder. So we're gonna click next. And we're gonna have creation and deletion of specific objects within it, right? Or we can just do a let's say I want my second user, I want my user 8 or my HR just to kind of have a read only of it, right? And not being able to delete anything or you know just to kind of see specific things. Or we can give her full control, right? She'll give her all the permissions that we need. And we'll click next and finish. So we know that our HR um, we just need to refresh. So we should have our members here. No, we should have our user 8 properties, address, and and um, member. Where am I here? Oh, member of. Oh, there. So did I? Right. Let's refresh, refresh, refresh. So yeah, I just delegated the control. So if I go to the, sorry guys. So if I'm going to the, my apologies, I thought I added that person. So if I go to the delegate control option, right? Or I go to the properties, security, right? And I look down here, I have my user 9 here. That's part of that group. So if I click on that she has full access, right? So that works for that. All right, so we know that she is part of our domain local group. Okay, so that's set. My next topic that I want to talk about is when we talk about groups, because again, we're gonna get to the global, the cloud aspect of it. because we're still. Let me start grabbing a picture here. Let me grab a picture. So right now we're working within our root domain, right? And within our root domain, we have users, printers, and computers and servers, right? So within these users, printers, computers, and servers, so we can do that. We have users, so we can say we have users in here. So this is our um, root domain, right? We have our server, right? We have our uh, computer. It's our computers, our client computers, right? We have our client computers. So it can be any computers that's there, right? That can also be a computer. Or you know what, let's put this as another server. Let's say this is another server, file server. It could be, for example, and then I'll give you guys a computer, right? In my diagram, right? So this is also part of my on-premises root domain, right? And again, our trusty cloud, right? Within our cloud environment, we also have our direct synchronization from our on-prem to our cloud, right? And within our cloud, we talk about our intra AD, right? Intra AD. So that's, oh, I think I spelled that wrong. So that's gonna be VER. VER. Sorry about that, guys. VER. Right. And then we have our users. Let me see if I can grab some pictures of users for you guys. Let's click on that, hit OK, and we will get some users for you. Get some specific users for you here. Give me 1 second. All right, here's my user. Get my user here. Cancel. So let's go look for a user icons. All right. And we will say that that's our user. Open. And we'll copy this image, and I will go back to um, my domain, and we'll say that there are users. You know, these three um, these three are you know connecting to our root domain address, right? So servers connecting to our root domain address. Put this gray. Put this back here. Actually, you know what? Let me draw this in red. All right. So we have our users that are connecting to our root domain, right? And then we have our servers. When we have our servers connecting to our root domain, then we have our computers connecting to our root domain, right? So, and then we have our environment that's within our. So in my case, we have our root domain as Italia Computers Inc. to dot local, right? And that right there is, this can be, um, device at Italia Computers Inc. dot local, right? So you guys kind of get the gist of it, right? Or it can be, put this a little bit better here for you guys. And then control that, put this in a darker color, right? Copy, and then we can do, you know, the server one, whatever the server is. It could be a file server, an IIS server, could be a ASP server, it could be whatever you want it to be, right? So that's that. And then you also have your user, right? So you have your specific my user. So this is my user. um, at not my user device, but user at uh, my domain, right? So it's kind of easy to understand once you get the gist of things, but you'll understand that within our environment we have our devices, we have our servers, we have our users, right? So we have our objects, right? So these specific, and then we have our forests and our sites and our trees and our domains, right, within it. And again, we can replicate those we can replicate these into other domains and other child domains, right? And have child and have root DCs as part of that, right? So we can expand this into something a little bit better, like corp, right? And manage this as a corporation, right? Or an enterprise, right? So our next one, we can call it enterprise. So our child domain could be enterprise. Child domain is enterprise, right? Dot computers inc dot local, right? So think about that. Think about how this works, right? And how it's managed in our corporation, right? Just say the example, we have our Canadian data center as a folder. It's not really a data center, but this is where everything's going to sit in there, right? So imagine this being our data center. It's just a folder, right? I'm going to make this up. I'm going to make a folder. Okay. So this is sort of our folder, right? And this is minus the cloud. Okay. Right. And then I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So this is sort of our part of it too. Same thing. It's still intertwined into it. And then I'll just erase the line so I know that this is part of the bubble. So you guys understand that this is the same thing. Okay. Right. So our child domain is part of our data center. This is our Canadian data center. So if I'm going to write that down so you guys kind of understand what I'm talking about and you're not confused. Data center, right? And we call it CN, or conical name CND. So that's what that is. Okay. So think about that. You're in a root domain, and within our on-premises environment, we have our devices, we have our printers, we have even printers too. We can have to, so we can, have this as a printer, for example. So this will kind of be our printer. Just make this some more, or server. Right? So again, it could be any device that you want within our on-premises environment. So we have printers, right? Okay. And that's also at Atari Computers Inc., not local, right? So remember that and how that works. So that's also part of that, our actual server, print server, whatever it's called. So, or print server here, we'll do print server at, no, right? So remember as we move along the terminology and while this terminology is used, and what we're using this terminology for, so that you guys understand how that kind of works and how this is how things play out this way, right? Too. So then we also have our child domain, and within our child domain, obviously we have our child domain users that sit within this child domain, right? And it's called enterprise.italia computers inc.local. So we have that, and we can separate that as a total separation of AD administration too. So kind of understand how that kind of works and whatnot, and not just like change the users and whatnot, right? So you have to understand the background and how the background works. Okay. And this is way before when we get into our entry ID, because I will show you guys when we talk about naming policies. But I also want you guys to understand the difference of what a group is, and how groups are synchronized too as well. There's ways of doing it, right? And again, you're more than welcome to work with me and talk to me about how to do that. And I do offer courses, again, online courses, one-on-ones, team courses. You know, for your team, for your business. So, message me, let me know, and we'll talk about that in in our future, in the future coming um, conversations, right? So, we also have I think I've already, and again, I think within this company, I think I created a group for HR, but this is just an accounts group where, I have my domain local users within Ontario, and we have my domain global group within Quebec, right? Within our data center. So understand, and then I also created our US DLG New York. So within that, I'm going to um, add our members. They should be a member of um, they should be a member of Boston, let's say. Or let's say, yeah, Toronto. So they should be a member of CND because they're in charge of everything. So CND, check name, and I'll add Ontario, the admin. So the admin is also part of that. Apply, hit OK. So if we were to go back to our Ontario and look at our memberships, um, you'll notice that our members are there, right? So understand the difference between members and members of. So you know, New York is a member um of the Canadian DLG Ontario group, right? So that's how that kind of works for that. Another group I want to talk about, and I know I'm rambling on and I'm teaching you guys a little bit more, but it's good to learn hands-on experience and kind of understand where this is coming from, and giving you that guys visibility on it, and hopefully you guys are able to kind of do this on your own, share your experiences, right? So um, I do appreciate um, snapshots, guys. So you know, take your snapshots, right? Share them, share your experiences, right? So, this one here, I can say a snapshot one. Um, we created, we created a domain local group, security group, right? And then you could take your picture and then, show us there, but it should have your name and not my name. It should have your domain local name on there, and you know, hopefully, you know, and this is going to be security group, and this is going to be domain local group scope DLGS. Sorry, guys, security group. So that's what that is. I also want you guys to take another screenshot or snapshot, whatever you guys want to call it. I want you to take a snapshot of the users that you created. All right. And and I also want you guys to take another screenshot of the um, domain, um, the memberships, and member of, just so that I know what you guys are doing. So when you are taking pictures of the DLGS, the domain local group scope, right? Group scope for the security group. So if we were to go back to our domain local group and we were to go back to, oops, sorry, let me see. So if I were to go back here and I would to go back to the tab here, so I would have my creating accounts, right? And you guys can also follow along. I would just take a quick snapshot, right? It's got to have your name printed here, so you guys can print your name here, right? And yeah, I want your full name, right? Sal, and then last name, right? And then I want you guys to kind of, you guys can even like write a note, right? If you guys have sticky notes, right? So sticky notes, fine too. Let's see if we can have, if we have sticky notes here, sticky. Oh, if you have a sticky note, let's see, sticky note. No, there you go. So let's open up that, and you can put your sticky note here, and open up your sticky note. Okay. Right. So I'll put my sticky note here. Doesn't matter. Right. You guys kind of get the gist. I'm not gonna do that right now, but kind of understand where I'm coming with this. There you go. Should work now. Um, Not now. Okay, so if I'm taking my notes here, guys, right? I'll put my name, right? So I'll put my name, Sal, right? Last name, so first name, last name, uh, and then show me your domain in the picture, right? And then these are some set of rules, and then your groups, right? Property, your group properties. So for example, I want you to open up the group, let's say for example here, and I want you to show me this. So this is the picture you're gonna take, right? And then you can also take the memberships, right? So you can take a look at the memberships that you have, just so that we, with this here, so that I know that that's you, right? So what I will do also is, right? So I can take this snapshot here, right? Right. Oh, and then I'm gonna open up my data center, my Canadian accounts, my Ontario account here. And again, I can divide this again into three part. Oops. Right, right, with my notepad. So first name, right, last name, right. Show me your domain in the picture, group properties, and then four, we can say location that you're from. And video you watched, video you watched. Right. So it, excuse me, guys. So again, when we're doing all this stuff, it you're benefiting. You're not really benefiting anybody by doing it, but you're learning. You're showing me that you're able to do these sort of things, and I really appreciate people that go above and beyond. Especially when you're working, right? People go above and beyond are my kind of people, right? And I've got lots of people who've gone above and beyond and actually done all this stuff for me already. And, I've received so many people send me stuff. And, I appreciate everybody's help and support, and following along. And, that way I know you're understanding it and you're getting ready for that job interview and those job projects or those full-time jobs that you're actually going in, right? So here's an example, right? If you are going to send snapshots, right? Right? That's what I want you guys to do, right? I want you to follow that aspect. Okay, guys? I want you guys to do the same thing, right? So here's these are some snapshots. Again, right? These are the three snapshots that I taken for one, two, and three, and you can actually, you know, create one snapshot out of that too, but like divide that into three and then kind of, memberships of um, Oregon or use. Right? So just so that you're learning that, and then in your fourth snapshot, right? Like in your fourth snapshot, we'll put that over there. In your fourth snapshot, I want you to create um, create universal universal, uh, universal group scope object with a group group and um, two users, right? And then my fifth screenshot too, same thing. Um, I want you to do this as well too. And my fifth screenshot is I want you to create a, so if we go back to uh, our server here and we right click and we create a new group object, we need to create a universal and global security group type, okay? And so we are going to create a global group scope object with security group, right? With a group, an existing group already, group and two users. Okay. So this is what I want you guys to do. Um, so this is going to be a scope group, right? It's very easy. I've created one for you guys already. You guys kind of get the gist of things. And I want you guys to share this with me on my WhatsApp channel. And again, I will send you guys the WhatsApp channel in the description of the video. So if you go down and you look down at the video, there's some descriptions and it'll have all the important information. It'll have my WhatsApp number. I'll have the WhatsApp group I want you guys to add, and I want you guys to send these snapshots or screenshots, you know, with with will, you know, like I want you guys to kind of, you know, be able to showcase your work, right? And not just copying and pasting, you know, and showing me bits of it. You know, I want to be able to see that you're following along. And again, you can use Notepad or sticky note, right, to give me that those notes and whatnot. But I'm giving you an example of what you should use, right? You could use, and you know, try these on your own. And this is an assignment. Okay, is take these three snapshots, and if you have any issues, please call me. Sorry, message me on my WhatsApp, and I'll do my best to help you guys out. Okay. All right. So we talked about groups, very straightforward. I showed you guys where to do that, and you guys are going to do those. So we talked about what group is, the different types of groups within our AD environment, and we'll move on to our hybrid environment. In our hybrid environment, we'll move into the cloud, and I'll show you where all that information is. Okay, here's a good link I'm going to share with you guys. I want you guys to take a look at that, and you know, we talked about this is our group scopes group as a new object in our on-premises environment, right? I'm going to send you guys this link. I really want you guys to, you know, read up on this good stuff. This is good literature. So um, we talked about groups and how to add a new group as a new object in our on-premises environment. Um, right? We talked about groups and the three different groups are, right, global, universal, scopes, sorry. And then we have domain local, which is what we did together, right? Right. Um, again, uh, there are also distribution groups are a little bit different, but again, um, there are just not just security groups, but there's also distribution groups. We'll talk about that too as well. There's distribution groups, but not really necessary right now to talk about. That's a exchange thing. Distribution groups, right? This is sort of like your M365 for email, for email. And I'll talk about that little on. It's not really important to talk about right now, but I just want to give you guys the basic stuff, the intermediate stuff. It's not really basic, but this is the stuff that good to know, especially when you're creating these groups and so again, um, when we talk about the different groups, right? We can also select um, the properties for different items, right? They're called multiple items. And as you see, I selected these two groups. Uh, I'm able to now, state what I'm able to kind of see the properties of that, and that's kind of how. So if I select these two groups, I can actually add to a group. I can send mail. I can move, right? Or I can check the properties and kind of change the description text for the selected groups. So if there were any description types, I can say, I can say for all these, I want these to all be, um, these are domain local groups, right? If I have multiple, I can do that. Domain local groups used um, within our Canadian data center. And again, you have to understand that the Canadian data center is not it's just a folder, right? It's a folder that we're creating. Um, you know, it, obviously, when we created that, we created it as um, we created it as a OU, as you could see, right? An OU class, right? But it should be just a container. So, this should have been a container. So we can actually create a container, right? Um, Similar to this. And I should be able to create a new um, container, but it looks like I can't create the new container. New, let's see, right click, new, computer group. Let's see, can I create here? Okay, so in the current container. So I'd have to create it within a container. So for example, I can move this to our users container. If I want to, I can move this to our users container. Yes. And again, obviously, because it's um, protected by accidental deletion, I can now move it to our container. These are predefined. And again, the objects cannot be added because the parent is not on the list of possible superiors. So there you go. There's an actual uh, issue here. So we cannot move the object. And as you can see, we're trying to create them within these containers, but because they're not really containers, these containers are already uh, they're predefined, obviously. They're predefined when you're creating them. and they already have their specific, um, you know, security groups. So again, note that the groups that we're creating are different from the groups. And again, these accounts um, can have these built-in security groups already added, right, within those. And again, my Canadian domain level group could be a domain, it could be just an administrator, an account operator, right? Administrators, domain users, and account groups, right? So that account operator can be added to that specific Canadian group, right? For example, and then whoever's within that specific group, right? So whoever is part of that group. So for example, if I'm part of that group, obviously, then I should be able to do that. There's no users within that group. So right now, I need to apply that, hit OK, refresh about 4 or 5 times. So if I'm going into my built-in groups, right? Um, I'm going into that. I can now add the membership, right? See, so for example, in the account operators, the built-in groups cannot be added to other groups. So as you can see, it won't allow me to do that, but I can add members, right? So I can add these members. I can add these specific computers if I want, right? The members, so they're member wise, they're not really, or contacts or objects. So for example, these groups are members, right? So what I'll do is I'll add my Canadian members, right? My head office members here, and we'll go through the entire directory, right? And we'll check name. And I should be able to um, add, let's see if I can just add everybody here. Okay. And then I'm going to go to locations, oh, check name, advanced, sorry, advanced. I'm just going to find now. And then I'm going to look for SC, and I'm going to go all the way down. Oh, sorry. I'm going to go to C, and I'm going to go all the way down to my specific accounts that I'm able to use here. So if I go to CND, C, see, it's not there. All right, so I'm not able, okay, so basically, okay. All right, so I'm not able to do that. So right now, it's only allowing users, contacts, computers, service accounts, groups. Interesting, right? And in folder, see what folders it's giving me, allowing me to do. It's allowing me to go in the Canadian. Okay, so it's just allowing users and global users and um, all right, so anybody who's able to administer domain users and computers. Okay, so that's fine. So let's see if we can add our administrators as CND. Can we? No, it doesn't allow me to add that domain level group. Okay, okay, so if I'm able to now go into my data center, my Canadian accounts, my Ontario account, right? And obviously, you know, you can create emails for these groups as well too. You can actually create these accounts as accounts. So this will actually be an email account that's attached to this group. And if we can add the group here, let's see, CND. Okay, it's okay. Don't worry about it. So you guys kind of get the gist of things. I don't think it's something you have to kind of worry about, but um, you know, I'll give you some more info on it and then change the description field, which is what I did. And then I'll apply that. So I'll say domain local. Let's do this again. Group scope, right? And I'll hit apply. And again, that'll change the description for it all. So which is what we want. Again, we go to properties and we can change, you know, that, right? And then hit apply and give it some notes if we want. And hit apply, hit OK. And do the same thing for that. Right click, right? Or do all of them. Right click, properties, right? Change it, and then we can do paste if it lets me. Oh, let me see if I can paste that for you guys there instead. So I'll click on one of these, click on that. A X V. Okay, apply. Okay. Select all. Right click, right? Then properties. Change the description field, and then click V, and then apply. And okay. And then go back to our domain and refresh it about 1,000,000 times. Um, so so if we're built-in roles, I think these roles can go specific to users. This group is more of a built-in role. It's a built-in local role. It's not domain based, it's just local. So I can just add users to this group, right? Um, right, or anybody within the container, the users container, built-in container, global users container. I should be able to move these guys. Hopefully, it lets me because the parent is not listed possible. So I can move the users within these users here, copy or cut or move the users. Let's see if I can do this. I can go here within my container. I can create a new um, group, and I'll call these guys offboarding or offboarded group, right? And this is going to be our Canadian, right? Or just say our head office, right? So our head office offboarded group, global security group, and then within here I can move my global users. So let's click in this group here. Let's go to our members tab. Let's add, and let's go to our service accounts, our groups, or other things. So let's see if we can find global. See if we can check name that. No, it won't let me. So moving in between these folders, that's fine. Containers and OUs. So it looks like we can't do it. Um, Again, keep it consistent, right? So as you could see, consistency. So boarding, offboarding. Let's just call it offboarding. And this is an HR group, HR department group, right? Department group that, um, you know, and then we can create this email too. We can create something like, right click at probably a computer so that these guys are emailed. These guys get emailed as well too, right? Well, that's something we can note in the attribute, right? And make this a well, this is more of a yeah. So we'll do that. We'll create this email for distribution group. So it's not really a distribution group, but it is just a group of users as we're just doing this for a group of security group for users, right? There's no basic dynamic querying or there's no querying involved in this. It is managed by us, the admins. And again, within here, I should be able to now go into the users, show you the control A, right click and move. And I should be able to now move this to our um, users, right? So as you can see, I moved all my users from the global users group, and then I can actually delete this now if I don't need it. Um, so as you can see, I removed all these users, right? And again, I can, you know, go into my HO. So if I go to HO offboarding group, right? I should be able to add members to this now, right? And select them. So, and this is going to be my whole, okay, objects. I'm going to be computers, contacts. So it looks like within this users container, I've moved users, but it doesn't allow me. So it looks like the security allows for domain admins to read, write, create, but there's no full control. So if we go back to our, because I'm a C admin, I should be part of the administrators group, and the administrators only read, write, and create objects. We can't move. So I need move permissions, right? To be able to move. And that's what you kind of want to do when you're troubleshooting. Again, you know, this is what you want to do when you're troubleshooting and whatnot. So these can all be done on your own time. And again, you can do that. Um, I've created these users already. I've actually um, I created a script for this actually. So I have a script here that I created, and what it does is it runs a script based on the AD users, right? So I created the AD users list. Um, Again, I can change, you know, that based on what I want it to do. So for example, I'm giving it the password, and in this case, they're all going to be password one, right? And I can do a control F and replace, right? I can do find replace here, so I can do, you know, password, right? ORD1, and I can replace this with a better password. I can replace it with first name, season, month, and year, right? And then, you know, replace all that. So replace all. So there you go. So that's all done there. And again, you know, that's what you're gonna have to do for that. And then what I do is I just grab that, and if I look at my my PowerShell and edit the PowerShell, I'll show you guys what I did here. Yeah, this was almost 9 years ago. So I've created a simple, you know, PowerShell that's compatible with older versions. And you know, I basically um, was able to create this and run this automatically and load the 390 users. So, you know, but we can also create users in here. And again, it's really straightforward. You know, you can create users, right? Within your global users list, you can create a user. So if I go here, I can create a user, right? And this will be, you know, Moby. We can create fictional characters here. We can do Clark Kent, right? He's another user, right? And then his username is going to be how I want it to be. And I think it's the login name. How did I set it up again? So if I look at my users and I click on that user and I go to account, it's going to be first name dot last name. So that's how I want to keep it. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep it really uniform here. So what I did was I changed the password for that. Very easy. You know, you can do that as you want. Um, if you're interested, let me know. I'll send you guys the I'll send you guys the PowerShell command. Um, so so again, you know, you need to you, so when I'm creating my user, right? I'm creating my new user, for example, here. Let's create him here for now. So if I'm creating my new user, because it's nice, I'm gonna call him Clark Kent, right? Or and then I'm putting Clark dot Kent, right? So that's how I want it done, right? Just remember and then we're gonna put our domain, right? So our domain. Um, and again, we can change these after. I'll show you guys a second here where you can change those, right? And properties. Oh, sorry, it's in there. So right click. Um, we can change the forest here. And we can, well, first name, and we can go to properties here, go to location. Um, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, I think it's okay. Wait, there you go. Okay, right click. Ah, there we go. So, um, you know, when we're looking at our specific, oh, well, this is for transporting, but is it here? Is it one of nine? Right click. Control. Oh, it's been so long, guys. My apologies. Oh, okay. Oh my God. Oh my God. Right click. Oh, I guess I forgot, guys. Um, oh wait, I think it's oh my God. Sorry, my apologies, guys. So if I grab users here and I grab multiple users here, for example, right click, and if I go to properties, right, and I go to account, here you go. So if I got a UPN suffix, I need to add the UPN suffix. So I need to add the UPN suffix. Okay. I almost forgot there. My apologies, guys. So that's something I'll give you some links on that, but I actually want to show you in the video so you guys are able to resolve this yourself and not have to wait for me to send you a link on it. I want to keep this in the video, so give me 1 second as I search for it, okay? So I know it's done through the ADD. Oh, domains trusts. Oh my God. Okay. So it's in the domains and trusts, guys. My apologies. So if I go to administrative tools, um, Russ. So if I go to this has ADDS already installed. So domains and trusts, my apologies. And I right click here and I go to properties, alternate. So I can add an alternative properties. So I can add a computers inc.ca, right? And add that and then apply and hit OK, right? Oh, and this is to the domains and trusts. So again, you know, we can right click here on the top, main folder, right? And go to properties and then add your domain. So if you need to purchase a domain, I think I showed you guys how to purchase a domain. There's this company called Ionos, right? Ionos is a great company. It's cheap, very cheap, 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 cheap. You guys can go ahead and create domains, buy a domain SSL certificate, because that might be important for future courses with me. So you guys might be able to learn a little bit with that. So cheap, cheap, right? You can get something at $4 a month for that specific reason. You just need to click on domain names here, right? You can buy the domain names and um, SSL certificates. So if you click on domain names, and then another site I want you guys to check out too, which is kind of cool. There's names cheap, right? Names cheap, so you can, you know, create some new domains here. You can buy some new domains, right? There's also GoDaddy, which is also very helpful, and a lot of people are using GoDaddy, right? So if you click on GoDaddy, which is common, a lot of companies are using these days. So yeah, look into that. You know, do some searches. You can do some searches for yourself and purchase yourself. Um, one for now, right? So I want you guys to kind of look into purchasing something cheap for a year, for like $1 or two, and you know, go to your domains, your domain, go back to your AD on premises, right? So within our AD on premises, um, you're going to go to your domains and trusts. You're going to right click here, right? Within our domains and trusts area, you're going to go to properties and you're going to add the UPN suffix. So that's the UPN suffix that I showed you earlier on when I right click and I went to properties here. So here's your VPN suffix, right? So if you did it properly, you should have a Italian Computers Inc. And you can change that to all your users, right? Okay. Okay. Right. So if we look at the um, go to my users, go to our users, right? Double click, right, and go to profile account. You'll notice that everybody's logged on name is proper there. Okay, guys. So pretty easy, very straightforward. A little bit of AD 101 here. You know, I thought I'd tell you guys, I teach you guys a little bit of that. So you guys get a handle of it because it is a senior level role, you know, thing that, you know, you should be able to learn how to do, even service desk, or should be able to do these level one stuff. The bigger the company is, the more higher the larger the infrastructure is, the more root domains you have, the more force you have, um, right? The more separation of administration you have in WAN environments, right? So we're talking about, you know, where we're talking to a DC in a WAN environment, and those two DCs, you know, talk to each other. They still talk to each other, but you know, it'll take, you know, by default, it should take about 3 hours to reach type of thing, and that's how that works. Okay. Um, so that's another one too. I want you guys to right click properties, and I want you guys to go to um, your sixth snapshot here today. Um, if you purchased a domain, um, you know, show me, uh, create the changes um, in Active Directory domains and trusts. Okay. So again, my apologies, guys. I went blank there for a second, almost forgot. I've been doing this for a long time. So sometimes, yeah, I do forget things. So I just have to re-Google that and I know what to do, right? Um, so we'll have to show the create the changes and trusts. So we will new domain. Again, this is optional, but but is you know yeah, it's a guaranteed thing for me. Like I appreciate it, but it's really appreciated, right? Um, even if you don't have one, create one. You're showcasing your business, you're showcasing yourself. And then, you know, if you purchase the domain, optional, but is really appreciated. Um, and then screenshots, let's make this another screenshot 7. Um, 7, uh, create, you know, create the changes in Active Directory domains and trust to show your new domain or UPN suffix domain. Okay. All right. So know what to do. And again, I want you to share your experiences. Use Notepad or sticky notes. Right. So I'll show you guys 2 ways of doing that. So you guys can use Notepad and take the notes there. I still want those notes there showing me, the date, you know, so, make sure that you have first name and then date, right, that you worked on. So this would be date, first name, last name, date, right? And then show me your domain in the picture, group names. I want to see it's you, who you are, and what video you watched, and time, so that I know that you're following along. Again, it goes to show me who the real people are. And you're not really sleeping there. And again, I I tell people all the time, it's your choice. What kind of person are you, right? What kind of person are you? And like, who are you? Um, you know, it's your choice either to be lazy or simply attend, right? Or do things, or do it for yourself, right? Don't nod to the instructor myself, pretending you understood everything um, I said, and then just go home and be too lazy to have to study. Give yourself 2 hours a day. Give yourself 2 hours a day, right? Um, to do all this stuff if you need to. Um, right? uh, would you rather be an active or a hardworking type? And try to understand, what me, the trainers and the instructor or trainer is saying, right? So myself, and try to understand what I'm saying, because um, let me know if I'm going too fast. Ask me to repeat what you don't understand. That's fine. I can do that. But again, please don't be shy on asking simple questions. Questions are merited. All questions are merited, and all questions are fine. Depending on the question, if it doesn't make sense or makes sense, we'll make sure that it makes sense, right? So when you're watching these videos, and you're working on your home lab, SMS me, email me, send me those screenshots, and I'm able to help you as soon as I get time. So works, I want, like I said before, work on hands-on labs, minimum 2 hours a day. You don't have to watch the whole lab, and try to do everything all at once and become Superman. Some people do work, some people do have families, right? So, you know, take your time, even if you want to learn the subject, you want to become an IPT professional in a matter of 0 to 100 seconds. Yeah, watching these videos, watching other people's videos, watching these videos, you'll understand, right? You'll get ahead in life. And these are things you can actually master when you're going into the job field and interviewing, uh, by getting interviewed by interviewers, right? It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be handed to you. Don't just think that somebody's going to Google things for you and do it for you. You need to learn how to do it yourself. Don't give up. Step up to the plate. It's just like, getting that home run for the first time. You're up to the and you're waiting for that pitch. And that pitcher might be saying, hey, you know what, maybe I'm going to pitch 100 miles an hour to you, and let's see if you can touch that. You're not going to expect him to throw a slow pitch to you and so you can hit the home run, right? And just give it to you wherever you want. You're going to have that guy, show you what it's like to become a hard worker, to become an active, to become focused, right? So, this is what it's about, right? We're almost hitting the 2 hour mark. I wanna make this a little bit quicker, and kind of talk about, not just the on premises, but I also want to talk about the different groups. Again, we talked about the different groups. I'm not going to spend too much time, because um, this is something that you would want to look at. And obviously, if you do have the experience, and you should be able to create one of these. So this is a great assignment for you guys to kind of create on your own, right? So, um, I'm going to give you that as part of an assignment. I want you guys to create those. Um, oh, there you go. So, if I go to, okay, so what I'm going to do is create my, and this is assignment, right? And then these are going to be the assignments, right? So I want you to create a, this is all going to be, let's say all this thing's going to be an assignment for you guys. Right? I want you guys to do this on your own. Trust me, if you're waiting for somebody to do it for you, you're never going to learn, right? Um, you know, you're not going to make 100,000 tomorrow. It takes time. You got to learn. You gotta sacrifice a lot. You gotta be able to be outsmart the company, right? Like, your peers. Help out your peers. You're showing you have that, and not getting into a job and having you that way you can actually showcase what you have, right? And I'm here to help you do that. So, in my screenshot 8, I also want you guys to, um, you know grab these different types. I want you to create these different types of groups, okay? Create these groups for me. So, I want you to create the following groups in your on-premises environment or cloud if you don't have on-prem. If you do not have on-premises, it's okay. Create them in the cloud. Okay. And these will be the type, and these will be the screenshots here. So I'm going to remove this here, and we did this already. So I'm going to remove this. All right. And you know what? Let's just create a distribution group. Okay. Let's just create a distribution group. I don't want you to create this. This is another topic. It's not really important right now. It's part of our exchange course. Um, so create the following groups in your on-premises environment or cloud. If you don't have it's okay. Create them in the cloud, and we'll say that the distribute. So create the distribution group. Create a distribution group or groups in your on-premises environment. Okay. And again, these are used for sending email and notifications to a group of people. So I want you to learn how to do that and how to add your emails to the attributes and to the cards that you're creating, right? So for each user. So get into the habit of that because that helps as well too. Um, to remove this, and I'm going to. Okay, um, so so we know that there's three different types of groups, right? And the distribution group, I want you to take a snapshot of this. I want you guys to create these 8 snapshots as an assignment. I want you to use Notepad or sticky notes to answer these few questions here, and I'll make this a little bit bigger for you for a few seconds, just so that you know what to do. Similar to mine, you know, it's okay to create them in the cloud if you don't have your on premises, right? So, you know, you can still create one in the cloud. So those are the 6 different types of groups. Um, it's not important. So we talk about group naming policies within Entra Admin Center. And is your company's nomenclature naming confusing? And a lot of the times, like I said, yeah, it might be naming, but it's also a way um, to understand within your environment so that, you know, your nomenclature means something to your company and to your company only. It needs to be easily understandable so that, when you're explaining it to the next person coming in, that person can understand the naming aspect of it. So there are challenges with self-service group management in Microsoft Entra ID. And again, excuse me, those challenges enables us standard users or any standard user to create and manage their own security and Microsoft 365 groups. All right, so those are specific challenges that are in within the self-service group management. To address these concerns, the solution is you know, to do this, right? So these naming policies are created and editing within the Microsoft Entra ID, right? So consistent naming of 365 groups, consistent naming, and I state that, and I'm going to highlight that because that's important to block specific words. I don't see a lot of companies use that, but again, and Microsoft, as Microsoft called it, aliases, right? So know those specific aliases and block those specific words. And I'll show you once we get in, right? And we'll talk about what a string is. We'll talk about user attributes, and we'll also talk about, how to create a Microsoft Entra ID free subscription. So if you do not have your on-premises, okay? Creating a free Azure account, right? And I'm not gonna I'm not gonna explain that to you because I have a video on how to create a free Azure Microsoft account as pay as you go um, and using the sandbox. So take a look at those videos there, one of those 2 videos. If you don't have access to it, let me know and I'll add you to those videos um, for this specific and just say what you're using it for. So I know you're listening, you're paying attention. We'll also talk about pricing, right? And what apps are in terms of my apps webpage, right? So these are some important links to think about and to read. And I'll go back into my documentation here and I'll also talk about myapps.microsoft.com, right? And what that is, right? My groups. Okay. So within here, we're able to create your own group, right? And create your own security group. But this is dangerous, so you need to be careful. You don't want the wrong person to create their own groups. You know, and you can create an M365 group if I'm able to. So for example, this will be my conical name, right? It'll be that for now, because this is what I want. And this will be Canadian data center, and this group will be say finance department. So I know that that's the finance department, or I could say FD, or I could say FD, right? And I could say um, Ontario, right? So we know that this is in the Ontario department here, right? And within here, I'll say this is the finance department in Ontario, okay? Or within Quebec, let's say, for example, Quebec. All right, and I won't Quebec, okay? And we'll set the policy type. And this group is open to join for all users. This group requires owner approval. So we can also, or only the owner of this group and admins can add members. So we will uh, say that it's not open to all users, but it's open to, or let's say our YouTube users, we can say this is open to our YouTube users. I don't know, I can say that, or my WhatsApp channel, or my Teams channel, then yeah, I can say that. But in this case, this is our financial department, so only the owner of this group and the admins can add members, right? So we're gonna click next, right? I'm not gonna do feedback, I don't need to. And again, within here, I've created that, and I can now, add members, right? And add owners to it, right? So that's the my account, right? On my groups, right? So I can go back and, you know, add access to that or my groups, right? Um, and then within here, I can leave, edit, and delete. I can actually edit these and delete whatever I want, or leave the group, delete the group, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you guys kind of understand how this works, and I'm going to leave. So again, if I want to leave that, I can leave that group because I no longer don't want to be in that group. And again, I've made ownership of that, and I can add again, I can add people here too if I want. So I'll look at SC, say whatever user I'm added. So I would actually have to go within here and I can say um, let's add a new user. Let's create a new user, and we'll call him. And as you could see, the UPN, you won't have that until it's synchronized. So that needs to be synchronized over. So as soon as I synchronize this information over, you'll notice that it will change. So what I'll do is I'll just put a test user for now, and I'll call him, you know, we'll call him Bruce dot Wayne because I'm keeping it consistent. Right? He's another fictitious character. Um, Again, I can change that display name will be Bruce dot name. So the user principal name is Bruce dot Wayne. So his display name is like that, Bruce Wayne, first name, last name, right? And we can auto generate a password, right? Or we can, you know, um, auto generate a password. I'm not going to get him to log in, right? So I'm going to disable it, and I can auto generate a password, and I can copy the password, right? But and then I can change that after I'm done. So I'm going to copy and paste that password. So that's going to be my password, and I'm going to change that. So he's not enabled, but just make sure he's enabled. And then we're going to go to properties. We're going to fill in the information here. First name, last name. All right. Um, he's going to be a member. Users ID, any user's ID based on authenticate. No. His job title is his job title. So I'm gonna cancel. Okay. So his job title is gonna be financial. director, director of financial finance department. Okay. Um, again, I love my okay. And then company name, obviously we're gonna keep the company name. Again, I should put the company name in all my users, and I can do that, and I will do that. Um, just so that I can do that later. Not a big deal. But I want to keep it uniform, right? So I just want to make sure I have that. You can put the department name, so this will be finance department, right? And we know this is just the finance, so we'll just name it finance, right? Employee ID type, hire date. We don't need the office location. Obviously, we're gonna put Toronto. Or sorry, he's in Quebec. Yeah, so he'd be in Quebec, right? For now, or Toronto, wherever you want to put him. Montreal, Montreal would be the city. So Montreal, right? We can add the manager. So for example, I'm the manager, right? I'm his boss. You can add the street name of province. Province is important because it's part of our AD structure. So we'll have Quebec, right? We'll keep the country as Canada and US because we have the differences between Canada, right? And we'll put his email. So we know that his email is going to be um, Bruce, right? Dot Wayne at um, Bruce dot Wayne at Dia Computers Inc.ca based on my architecture, right? And I can add other emails as well too, and I can put the his I can go to users here, active users, click on that user, and I should be able to copy this, right? I go back to there, and so so I can put other emails and email addresses here too, right? Once I create them, obviously that's what I'm going to use. This is what I want, right? But eventually, this is just an on cloud premises user, and once I have it synchronized, it'll synchronize back and forth in between everything, right? So I'll add that, and then we'll also add our other one here, but I haven't really created him yet, but I need him to. So these are the three different types of emails that I want working with each other, just in case, or secondary emails that you can add. You would obviously add them here, right? So for example, if I wanted his email here, I would add his email here. Um, Fax number, not to worry about it, but again, it's all up to you. User, this is also very important. So usage location is Canada, so that's also important too, right? Because when we look at the attributes, you'll notice that this is also part of the attributes. So I'm not going to add age group. I'm not going to add consent because this isn't a school. Right? I know, um, you know, minor adults, like you can add this for school, maybe for like elementary school or high school. You can add all this stuff, but I can see that parental controls being used um, for that when you're visiting a website, right? So that's also good to know. I've seen that happen before. I've seen that. Then we also add assignments to this new user. So for example, if I migrate this new user, I want to migrate them to the one that I just created. And obviously I want to also migrate them to my other ones so that, when it's migrated over, I should be able to add them there, right? And I can do a search for that and click next, right? So I know already I've added him there, right? But let's show you how to do it both ways, right? I've added it here, right? And I'm gonna delete that, and then I'm gonna be able to um, also add a role for him, right? So let's see what kind of roles I can add. So what I'll do is I'll make him the billing administrator. right? And then select, right? So I'll make him the billing administrator. He's finance, so I'll make him the billing administrator and only billing. So he's able to, you know, look at the billing here for that, right? So as the owner. So I'm also the billing administrator too. So I should be able to add my assignment as well too. I'll add that. Um, so you should be able to do that. And then we'll say add the group. Obviously, we'll add the group again just to show you both ways. Let's just show you both ways. There we go. And then we'll click review and create, right? And then it's not enabled. I won't enable it yet, but it's there just in case. I'll create. And there you have it. Okay. And I'm going to change the password. Right. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to change his password now. Right, I'm going to reset his password. And it looks like he's disabled. So let's enable that. Do, 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 do. Well, he is created. So if I go back to, let's try to enable him first. I think that's what the issue was. So I'm going to enable him and I am his manager. So that's okay. So we're going to troubleshoot this together, right? And I'm going to wait just a bit. I'm just going to refresh it. And I should be able to reset his password. And the reason why I cannot reset his password, and I'll get to this reason why, but again, I can't reset his password right now, but again, if I were to log out, we'll open up let's open up because I enabled it. I just want to sign in, right? I'm going to go to um, sign in. So we'll go to portal.office.com. Right? I'm going to right click here and I'm going to do in private window and I'm going to go to portal.office.com. I want you guys to do the same thing with your new user. And I'm going to go like this, but I'm going to go to add the domain. And I'm going to hit OK. What's next? Check spelling, next. And I'm going to take the password and I'm going to change that password after. Again, it doesn't really matter. It's disabled user. It's just for testing. We'll enable him after. So I'm going to put in my current password. And again, I need to update the password because it's the first time I'm signing. And that's an option that we put in. So I'm going to okay, and I'm going to sign in. You want to get into the habit of adding Microsoft Authenticator app for this, gentleman, but I'm not going to do it here. We're just going to say we have 14 days. We have 14 days to do this. It is important that you add the Authenticator app, right? And then click next. So you should be able to log in now, no problems. Um, I don't want to use, again, I don't want to use the Authenticator app, but it looks like it's just forcing me. I told them I don't want to, but it looks like I have to. Okay. It is what it is. So I'm gonna have to. So I'll say ask later. No. Oh, selected the wrong option. There. Okay. So as the billing admin, I should have, can I? Yeah, see, I can only have view options for this, right? So yeah, see, I'm not able to do anything here. So I'm not even able to, add a group or anything because I am the billing. So I should be able to go to billing here, go to billing payments. So I'm able to do all that stuff. Okay, cool. So invoices. Okay, cool, 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 cool. All right, so that's good. So I'm able to get in there. Awesome. Okay, perfect. All right, fantastic. Right? So these are the two notifications that are being sent to this person. So it's great. That's great. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So um, that's good. We know that it works, right? So I'm going to sign out, Bruce. Or actually, I'll just minimize you for now, and I'm going to um, go to assign roles. So this is the assigned roles, the active assign. There's no really active assignments, but um, that's the role object that's assigned. That's my cloud-based version. It's not the on-premises one. All right, and I can add specific memberships if I like. The more I have, the more I add. Right, so I can create different ones and add within those. Um, Bruce Wayne does not have any licenses. Uh, we're not going to reciprocate those licenses just yet. Um, so we're going to add our phone number as an alternate method. So I'm going to add my phone number, guys, because I want to use my phone number as an alternate method as MFA for now, just for the time being. So that's a security option that I want you guys to use. And it's a good tip. One, okay. And then an email address that I want to use too, just in case. Right. So this is, let's save that. And that's okay for now. Bruce, we're good. Yeah, so this will reset it. So once you're done, it will require re-register multi-factor authentication. So this will deactivate the hardware alt tokens and delete the following authentication methods for the user's phone numbers, authenticated apps, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, this is what I want to do because I need to require user authentication for that. We can switch the user, we can re-register that, which is what I want. So I'm able to now go through those specific steps and see those specific steps. So I'm also now able to uh, reset my password here as well too, and take a look at the groups that I want to add, which is what I did perfect. But I also want to show you that link, that important link that I've wanted to show you guys was myapps.microsoft.com. So if I'm looking at it through if I'm going into here and I go to my apps, I click paste, enter, I want to be able to see if I can add, Bruce Wayne can add um, my groups here. And he shouldn't be able to because he doesn't have access to add. So it doesn't, that's a good thing. So for example, if I'm going to uh, groups, clicking on that, uh, we can only leave the group, right? So you should be able to leave the group once he's done with his project. So this is a good feature to use as well too. And I want you guys to take another snapshot of this to show you the group that you've tested it with a secondary user, right? And add your user in there so that I know you guys are doing that. So for example, here, I'll take a snapshot of this. right? And this is my second user, right? And I'm now able to leave the group, right? And right, I can click on that and I should be able to leave the group, right? So there you go. I left the group. And again, this will show you the members that are in it and the owners that are in it too. So I'm able to now, you know, add the group there. So let's see if we can go back to creating a group, or security groups are used, and then create a security group. Let's see if we can do that. So I'm Bruce Wayne. I want to create a security group, right? So this is going to be my security group. Um, my Canada is going to be a security group for the finance department, right? And this is going to be in New York, for example, right? And we can give that. And I'm going to say this group is requires owner approval. So we'll go ahead and acquire owner approval, right? And click OK. So I'm now able to, you know, create this group, right? Right? Because I've now created the group. I'm the only member that's in there, and I can add specific members and people within here. So if I want to add Sal, let's say for example, who's our admin, and he's part of our directory, and he's going to be the member and owner, right? So I'm now able to add that person into the group, right? And then click add. So Sal's now added. Right? And then I'm now able to go to the owners group and have two owners. So I have a backup owner just in case, and I have a second, and I have the main owner. So the main owner is the owner plus the finance director of finance, who's going to be the second owner, and that person can now add and remove for this specific project. And this is basically good for project work too. Like again, I can put this as a project, right? I can say project, right? I'll call this SGFD New York, right? And this group requires owner approval. And again, you know, if you want to add yourself to that group, you know, you should be able to, you know, approve that way. So again, this one is only for the owner of the group and the admins that can add members. So in this case, because he's an owner, it should be admins and it should be only the owner of the group, right? So I'm going to update that because that's what I want for the specific project. And again, the project manager on the group would also add that as well too, right? We would add our project manager there as well. Okay. I want you guys to take a picture of that, right? Right. So this is my groups, my apps, and how to create a group within it. Okay. So I want a picture of that too. So screenshot 9. Um, my apps group created, right? So I know that you've created it. And again, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Move on. Our next step is to set up your free account. Um, the reason why I talk about that is when we talk about, let's just go back. Let's just go back a little bit here and talk about the group settings and naming policies is what our title is here. So when we talk about group policies, we talk about um, you know, can users create security groups in Azure? So APN and IPS. So it looks like a user can create a security group. So Bruce Wayne is able to create a security group. So what I want is I want to change that to no, and then test that again later on. So this was before Bruce Wayne was able to create that group. And this is after Bruce Wayne is he still able to create this group, right? We also talk about service group management, and owners can manage group memberships requested in my groups. So my groups, right? So if enabled, the users can request security groups or Microsoft group memberships, and then group owners can approve or deny memberships. So this feature requires the Entra ID Premium, And this is where we are going to ask you to get your free ID before we start all of this. Um, it's uh, it's important that you guys do get it. So right now I have my P2, but I'll show you guys how to do that. So if you go to um, type in, there is a free app here. I'll show you the link, guys. Um, so this is for free, and this will give us the pricing and whatnot. So here you go. So I'll right click. I've already done it, so I want you guys to do this first. I should have mentioned this first, but you know, and then this will be our last snapshot is creating. Our last snapshot is, well, one of our snapshots. Um, let's just make this one more. Create snapshot. Screenshot 10. Create a Entra free subscription, right? So show us that you've created. You can also create a um, E3 or E5 subscription, and I'm not going to show you guys how to do that. Just you guys can look that up for now as part of your assignment. Um, with P2 Entra P2 license, and I'll show you where to get that. Entra. All right, and that's it for now. And then our last snapshot's going to be showing us the. I want you guys to show me the naming policies, right? So I, I'm just going to show you. I'm going to show you where to find it. Again, I have all this here. So this is the free pricing list here. There's a good link. I'm going to give you guys the link. So if you scroll down a little bit further, there's the Entra ID free subscription. And this is included with Microsoft Cloud, such as Azure and Office 365. So this supports multi-factor authentication, limited SSO across, especially for this instance. This is perfect to ask and add a limited SSO across any SaaS app based reports, self-service password changes for cloud users, and manage users for the groups in the cloud, right? So this is what we're doing, and this is perfect. Or you can create a free Azure account, and I want you guys to do that if you haven't done so, and follow along with me. You can also use this free Azure account for other things. You can try it for free for 30 days if you guys are willing to use that, right? And test your VMs or your free VMs if you want to create your on-premises environment and move it to the cloud. You can also do that as well too. But I'm not going to show you that in the video. I have other videos for that. So if we go back here, you're going to sign in with the Microsoft account. If you already have one, great. If not, create one. Um, let's see if I can create one. I'll show you what it's supposed to look like in my on-premises environment. So if I go like this, enter, see what happens if it asks me. Scroll down to that. Let's see what happens. It should not ask me to sign out. Okay, sign out. Click on it again. Right. So you would create an account. It looks like you got to create the account, right? And again, you can, create the account, or if you have one already created, um, you can go ahead and sign in. If you don't have it, in this case, you can use your home lab, so you can use your at live, right? Live.ca at Outlook or at uh, your Microsoft Learn. So if you guys have already started the Microsoft Learn, right, you can use your Microsoft Learn accounts for this and do the trading for that as well too. Sign in with that account there. So that's how you do that. And this is the Microsoft Entra ID, and this includes the following. And again, if you look at the different features in the Entra suite, You should be able to access these within the marketplace. So if you're going in within the market, I'm not going to do it for you, but if you were to go to admin center, right? Uh, Again, this is also good if you have a an E3 or an E5 license. But you need a credit card. Oh, sorry, subscription, and no licenses anymore. Subscription, right? So uh, if you were to compare the plans, right? You would want to go ahead and purchase one first, right? So find that plan that's ready for you and take a look at the different options that it has. So for example, in this instance, we need admin. So let's see if it has admin here. Uh, Obviously the E3 and the E5s have that. Or you can also download the full price compliant. So let's download the PDF here. This is kind of cool. I like this PDF. I usually use this a lot, but this will kind of help you, and I'll post this information for you guys in the notes for you guys to take a look at. Um, so this is what the E3 and E5 is for Microsoft versus Office 365 E5, uh, and what apps are included in that. Um, so you can kind of take a look at that and read the different plans here. So right now you would need for the free, you would need to use the Office 365 uh, E5 or E3, right? So you can use that, or for this instance, for this video, right? Or you can use the Microsoft E5 uh, based on the different actions that you need, right? So you could take a look at that and see if that helps you with the different licensing. So this is important to know, especially when you're going for your free. Um, I'm going to add this in my notes and share this with you guys as well, right? Uh, so when we're looking at the price plans, we're also going to look at, you know, the free and what it's meant for this one. Yeah, we can use the free one. And I should be able to cut and paste that here. All right. I don't like that. Okay, so I'm going to edit and I'm going to put a full link here and I'm going to hit OK. So this is really, really, guys, this is really, 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 really important. When you're deciding um, for what you need. So again, um, you might see it a little bit different when you're purchasing that free, right? But you also have to make sure that, yeah, if you need admin center, you need E3, E5 licensing for that. And again, uh take a look at this drawing here, because this will tell you what you need it for and what you don't need it for, right? So, and what kind of apps um are added for this, right? So um I recommend to read this over, right? And take a look at it. But for now, I just want you guys to use the free version, which is what I need this for. It's free. Uh, if you don't, again, with the E3 and E5, you do need a credit card. It won't charge you. It's free for 30 days. You can extend it for another 30, so you have it for 60 days, okay? Um, and let's go back to our, go back. Okay. So close that. I don't need that. So if I go back to my my page here, and I go back to here. So once you get that license, you should notice that it says Microsoft Entra free. I have a P2 license, right? And you can find that in the marketplace. So you would have to find that in here. If you do have a license, again, you can check the licenses here. So my licenses, I have an Intune license, a Entra ID P2 license for that. And, you know, and then I can also add different licenses as well too. So within our, I'm not going to do it now, but it's very straightforward. You know, you can go to all products, right? You can minimize and you can go Entra free, maybe, for example, right? And we'll see all the different licenses that are there, right? So you have your trial licenses, right? Your P1 and your P2, right? Say premium for this Entra. See all the products for Entra, and we should be able to get the other services here. Keep looking. Let's keep looking. Let's keep looking. Keep looking to see what we got here. IDF2. So this one here would be good one too. You can use this one, guys, if you want, right? Right, you can go here and then just take there's a free trial, and then there's a manage the trial here. You can manage the trial, right? And then this will kind of explain the differences here, uh, with some more detail on the product. You want to read what the product is and what the product does, for what reasons you need it, right? So if you look at the differences between what we said about the free versus the old, again, the free is what we need just for this instance. So you don't have to worry about purchasing a product. Again, if you want to, this is what you need to do. Okay. So you need to purchase the admin center. So if you go to Microsoft um, admin, or let's say Microsoft Enterprise E5 license, free, right? So if we scroll down, we'll click here. You guys can purchase the F3. It's totally up to you. But again, you could try these for a month, just to try it for a month if you'd like. You can go E3, E5. Doesn't matter what you need it for, but in this case, we can go to E3, right? So we'll try this for a month, and I'll get you guys to sign up. Um, this way, this is where you would sign up for that. Um, if you needed to. Okay. So I would log out and create a new account. So I'm going to log out just to kind of show you what that looks like. But at this point, you should be able to get to where you're going, right? So you should be able to start with what you need. So in the trial, you're going to put your email, right? And then just click next. So for example, I'll put my email. This could be your Outlook email. It could be your Gmail email. It could be whatever you want it to be. Click next, right? And it looks like, okay, I'm going to sign in. Oh, actually, no, I'm not going to sign in. I'm just going to create a new account, and I'm going to go down and add all this information, and then I'll click next, but I'm not going to add this information. I'm just going to say whatever. And I'm going to give it a fictitious number. Just going to say that. Company sizes. That. Does your website have no? No. And you're going to say you're, let's say US, and you're going to say no that. This needs 10 digits, so okay, it should be good. Should be okay. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Next. Right. And then it will call you, and then you would go ahead and put in the rest of the sign-in details. And you would put the payment info. So you get a credit card. It's not going to charge you. After the 30 days, you can remove the credit card from from your account. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, pretty easy to do. So I'm not going to do this part just to show you guys how to do it. You can also purchase the try the E5 again, right? You can try the Office, right? If you want, it's up to you. And with this one, I can, add up to 25 users, right? And it will tell you when to avoid. It'll cancel. You just cancel by that date so you can avoid it, right? And then you can go to your Microsoft, for example, sign in anymore. Okay, so you guys kind of get the gist of things. So let's go back to our last thing and what we're talking about, because to get to the naming policy, you have to understand a little bit about groups and what groups are and how do we need to restrict these groups. And you need to kind of understand what this setting is used for within our environments. So when we look at our self-service group management, owners can manage the group, and we say we say no because if it's enabled, users can request um, group memberships, and then group owners can approve or deny them. This feature requires the premium ID premium package. So this only works if we have the premium ID package. So we have to make note of that as well too. Should have mentioned that, but it did. It did. Um, did I? So this is to answer the question. The solution is right. If enabled, users can request, and that's your answer because it needs the premium ID, right? For that. So again, you're not going to use it now, but in a real environment, you can. Obviously, you guys are going to use the free one, like I showed you, right? You're going to get the free one for now, and right, and then we're going to group settings again. And again, owners can manage group membership requests, right? So in my space, and we're talking about my apps or my applications, right? When we're in here, my groups, um, you know, where owners can manage group membership requests, right? So I'm able to now manage those group membership requests. And if it's enabled and set to yes, users can request security groups. So any user, including Bruce Wayne, right, can request security groups or Microsoft 365 group memberships. And then group owners can approve or only deny those memberships. So this requires the Entra ID premium. So we would have to go ahead and and see if we can get you that. But anyway, I'll explain to where we get that part and to that part too. So you can always upgrade that and test it out yourself. And I showed you where you can find that in the Office 365 environment. We can also, then we have our user settings, and we'll get to this part. We'll get to this part in a second, and the different features. We'll get to this part, but I think I just want to talk about this for now. This is another topic that I might want to add later on into my next video, but I want to get to this part because this is important. So when we talk about group settings, groups, users, and groups, right? Groups is a very important part. We want to restrict the ability to access groups features in my groups. So yeah, we want the restricted user like Bruce Wayne the ability to access groups, right? So I wanted to restrict that group, right? So, and this is just in the self-service group management, right? But when we talk about restricting the user's ability and features in my groups, originally this was planned for it was deferred. The new date will be shared for that aspect, but it looks like it's been deferred. The new date will be shared. So user restrictability originally planned is not available. So global admins will have access. So even if I say yes, right, global admins will have access regarding of the value of the setting. So if I restrict this access, a user's ability to access groups features in my groups, and when we talk about my groups, we talk about um, We're talking about my groups. We're talking about the access within the my groups, right? So if I go to my groups, I should now have access to that, right? As Bruce Wayne or as Sal, as whoever it is. So if I go to create a group, right, or my access or my groups, I should be able to go to that group, right? So that's what that is. So if let's go back to our so restrict the ability to access groups features in my groups. So if I can restrict Bruce Wayne to access the group feature in my groups, right? And user admin will only have read access. So any user admin will have only read access. So I should be able to read it and not access the features, right? So when the value is set into yes. So if I say yes, right? It doesn't matter if I'm a global admin or not, I'll still have access to it or not, but we'll say yes, okay, for now. And we'll save that. Owners can manage group membership with it. So users can request security groups and then group owners can approve. Yeah, we can also enable that because, you know, admins should be able to enable that and we'll need the Entra ID premium license for that. So just to kind of show you that, so I'll say yes to that. And I'll save that. And then use security group. So this is a self-service group management versus the security groups option. So users, for example, if I don't want any user to create a security group in Azure, I'm going to say no. So this is where I'm going to say no because I didn't want Bruce Wayne to do that. So I'm going to say no to that. Bruce Wayne's not an admin or he's not part of management, for example, right? Although he's a director of finance, obviously we don't want him to touch our environment in case of anything or anything happens, right? So we'll have to kind of, you know what level of access he has or what level of access is important for this. So Microsoft 365 users can create Microsoft 365 groups in Azure portal. No, I don't want that. So I'm going to say no, right? So we're going to select this to no, and we are going to save that, right? And then we're going to wait a little bit, and then I'll show you where if this is true or not. Because once it was yes, I was able to do that. So Bruce Wayne and Sal were able to do that. So let's test that and see if Bruce Wayne is able to create a user group. Okay. So let's go ahead and go to expiration, and I'll show you guys what expiration is. This is just renewal notifications that are enabled. And again, I can customize these group time. So for example, every 15 days prior to a group expiration. So I want this project group to expire, let's say 180 days, this 6-month project or a year project. I'll give this group lifetime a year for group, right? Project group. And then I'll set up the email based on the project email group. So I'll create a distribution, I'll create an email group. Um, I'll create the email group um, within Exchange Admin Center or Exchange Admin Center, and then I would create that group and add the email contact for that group, right? So whoever the email contact is. So for example, it would be myself, right? So Sal. Okay. Let's just make sure we spell that properly. Right? And enable expiration for all these groups. Yeah, so what this says basically is if I have a group of, I can create a security group for this or a Microsoft 365 group, and I can enable the expiration date on this. So I can select whatever group I want, or I can use all the groups. But in this case, because it's a project, I can just add the selected, right? And then create the selected group. So for example, this is the selected group, right? And again, if this group isn't renewed or it's deleted along with the associate content from sources such as Outlook, SharePoint, Teams. So it's also good to give a group time of a year for now, just especially If the project is, let's say, 6 months, give it to another 180 days. Or if it's not, just give it 2 years. So we can give it 365 plus 365. So we give it 730, right? So we get 730 days. So 2 years or 3 years. We can add another 3 years, for example, for auditing. We can leave it for 3 years, 7 years, whatever we want, right? But say, for example, it's just a quick in and out group. Again, I'll keep the 180 days, right? That's my lifetime based on the group. There's no need to review groups, especially, for projects and stuff. Um, we can always, obviously, again, audit these. So yeah, you would have to create the customized groups. So for example, I want 3 years, and that's law, whatever by law, right? Whatever the laws are. So for example, I want notifications um, to be emailed to the group owners 30 days, 15 days prior to a group expiration. I can have the group owners that have an exchange license. So the group owner has to have an exchange license, obviously. And that's all licensing to receive those notification emails. So it have to be myself. And if the group isn't renewed, it's deleted along with its associate content from sources such as Outlook, SharePoint, Teams, and Power BI, right? So small projects, yeah, these are good to have. So again, you can customize it, but in this example, I'll give it 180 days, and I'll say that this is the financial department for say 365, right? And then for Quebec, okay? And then I'll save that, and I'll save the group expiration status. Save that operation, and I'll go back to the name policy. So this is where we want to talk about group naming policy and why is it important. So we can actually customize block word lists. We created a few users. We could talk about, again, creating a cloud user. We can create a quick user, which is who we did. We created Bruce Wayne, right? Well, we created Bruce Wayne, right? My domain on Microsoft.com, right? Or whatever my on-premises domain is, make sure that it works, right? So in a real environment, you don't want to add that because people might not trust you. But again, it's also good to have a good one. So for example, it would be your domain.com or your company name or whatever you decide to make when you're looking for those, when you're creating your free domain, if you do. Right? So we did create a few groups together. We created a few users. We created, not a few, but we created a few users in our on-premises and cloud environments together. And I showed you that. Right? You just look at the video to do that. And then we're going to talk about attributes, strings, hyphens, prefixes, and suffixes, right? And this is our last topic before we finish this video. We'll look at blocked words. I'm not going to add the block words because you got to look for triggers. For you got to be mindful and have a policy and set in stone and how you name your your groups and your users, right? So you can upload a list of words here. You can just download the CSV file, right? We can open the file. We can add or remove terms if we want, and we can upload them, right? But there's a specific, like, say for example, your company doesn't want, um, you know, a specific word in there, right? Then you can add that to your block list, okay? And then just save that. Once you save that, you're able now to upload the CSV. I'm not going to do that, but I kind of give you an example of dirty words or something, or words that you shouldn't be saying, right? So that's just an example. Um, you know, anything profane, reserved names, other company names, you know, the policy, copyrighted names, stuff like that, right? Um, you're not gonna put Microsoft, you're not gonna put company, you're gonna put your own company name in there. Especially that's a good idea to add customized words. For example, I can put the other companies there, for example, right? So open up the file just to show you an example, and I can put just I don't want Microsoft. Right? I want VMware. I don't want Citrix, right? In my groups, right? I don't want Amazon in my groups. You know, these are different companies, right? So I don't want the bad words, you know, stuff like that. So these are just an example, right? And again, I'll save that, right? And if I go to the folder path and I open up the blocked words, there's my blocked words, save to the PC, and I should now be able to go back here and select a file, go to my downloads folder, go to blocked words, open that folder, and upload complete. So that upload is now complete, and I've enabled that list, and I'm going to save that. And those block words are stored and available for download, right? So I can actually download that now and add those words as it comes along. So let's now go to, you can learn more here. We can click on this link to learn more about the policy names and expiration and all that stuff, right? So our last thing we're going to talk about is group naming policies. So this is the fun stuff, and this is where we're going to talk about adding prefixes, right? And I've already started with the prefix and the suffix. So for example, I want my prefix uh, as in all my groups. I want in Ontario, I want um, you know my company name, so in prod, right? In prod, right? And I want if I want to create another string now too, I can add another string, right? And I can just add a dash. This will kind of give us the spaces in between. So if I wanted to add um I don't know, a dash, right? I can also add another dash here, right? Instead of having to add a dash, I can add a dash like that, right? Or I can combine two strings together and add that and then remove that string. And then I'll create another string called Ontario, I'll say Canada, right? And then I'll create an attribute. So within this attribute, I can create, well, instead of creating the string Canadian, I can create it based on the attributes within our AD. And I showed you guys already, if we go to all users and we go to the new user that we created, and we created our new user, and if we go to our properties within our new user, we know we have his specific property and contact information here. So we're able to do that based on his office location, which is Montreal, or we could do it based on the province, or we could do it based on our country or region or usage location. So let's take a look at what they're giving us, what availability options they have, and take a look at the availability here. So let's go back to settings. Let's go back to uh, group settings. Let's go back to name and policies, group naming policy. And if they gave us a setting for attribute, we have department, company, office, state, province, right? So we'll go by province here, right? So instead of adding a separate string for your project, right, we can add state or province here, right? So we know that that's a state or province. If we need to, add a suffix now, and after each suffix, I don't know, I want the attribute to say, uh, based on the based on the department, right? So at the end of it, I want the department name. So I'll have the attribute and I'll have the department that he or she is in, right? So that's good. And then I'll save that. So right now my current policy and my groups are company. I'll have the company. Oh, it's gotta be in prod. Prod, right? And then I can say now because I'm using a string and an attribute, I can add another string here, right? Or I can just add the string connector there, right? I can add that I can add that attribute there, no problem. But again, it would be string dash. Again, it's all up to you and how you want to do it, right? You can do that and combine however you like, right? And fix that up to however you like. So I'm going to leave it like that. And then I'm going to add, let's see, I'll add a string here and I'll put a dash because I want a space in between the two, right? For cleanliness, right? And then I'll add my department. So if you look at it, it's got to have a little bit of pizzazz, right? So let's see if I can move this up. It'll allow me to move this up here. So let's do attribute state or province. Right, let's do string and we'll do it like this. So this is the way I want you guys to do it, right? As if you look at our top example, you'll notice different ways you can do it. So this is how I would want you guys to do it, the same thing and get that going. Okay, so I'm gonna go string company, then space, right? So and then the naming attribute, right? So state or province, that it will capture, and then we'll also need to add another string for a dash for the suffix, right? Or we can add another string here just to make it uniform, right? So it's not too combined, and it has the dashes in between, and then we'll add our suffix here, our string suffix. And our attribute, sorry, and then our attribute would be our um this would be state province, and then this would be our country or region. So we'll do that. So we'll do this is how I want to, this is a good idea. This is how I would want to do it. Again, you can change this however you'd like. There's different attributes you can use, there's different strings you can use. You can change this however you like. This is just an example of cleanliness. And again, if you look at between group name, group name, group name, group name, right? You'll see that the group name and so basically I would add a string first, right? I would add a string between group name and state and province. So I have it combined, right? And then I would add my attributes. So as you can see, it takes a little bit of time to figure it out, but once you get it done, it should be easy. Right? I want you guys to try this. Take a snapshot before I forget. Um, right? Save that before you leave, right? So this is a snapshot of it. I want you guys to take, right? So I want you guys to show me yours with you can use a notepad, you can use whatever you want that has those 5 questions, or you can use the sticky note. So again, thank you very much, guys. I want to thank you. I want to thank you. And I want you to create screenshot 11. And this is group naming policy created. All right. All right, guys. And I want to thank you very much. And it's going to be, and again, when you're taking snapshots, again, I need to see your name. I need to see who you are and where, again, give me that information because it is important, so that I know who I'm talking to. So again, thank you guys very much. I hope this was very informative. If you have any questions or comments, again, please feel free to message me. Please feel free to message me on WhatsApp, and you'll find that info on YouTube video. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Have a great day and have a great week.